Dating with Autism. Hi guys, I'm Apollonia Ponti. I'm your dating and relationship coach, founder of ApolloniaPonti.com, and I'm joined by my lovely coach, Cynthia. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. This is a really great topic that Cynthia specializes in and actually knows a lot about, and you guys have been asking for me to do a video like this for a very long time. So what we're going to talk about in this video are three things. Number one is if you are someone that is watching and is autistic and struggling with dating. Number two is if you are someone that dates someone who is autistic, possibly, and you want to learn more about how to understand it better and use it in advantage in your dating life. And then number three is in regards to autism in general, like if you can really find love, those little things that go into our head. We're going to tackle that all today in this video, and what to do moving forward in regards to attraction and things like that. Mm-hmm. So let's get into it. So Cynthia, if we were speaking to one of our viewers right now that's probably listening and is in some type of one of the spectrums, right, of autism, what would you suggest for them to, how do they come across when they're dating, especially if they're insecure about it, dating because they're autistic?
Okay. And if they're aware of it. So relationships are hard. They are hard as it is. So it gets harder when you know that your brain functions in a different way, right? Understanding other people's mind is challenging. When you have a condition, it is more challenging. So what I would recommend is, like, the first thing is self-awareness. What are your positive traits and the negative ones? Mm-hmm. So with the positive traits, like, I consider it as a positive trait, they are completely honest. Mm-hmm. They don't know how to lie. So women like honesty. They like to be, sometimes we like things to be sugarcoated, but deep down we want to find that honesty. Yeah. So use that as a positive thing. Mm-hmm. That's a trait that it would encourage us to engage with you, right? Another thing is people with autism are very aware mm-hmm. of their environment. Yeah. They're very aware of what's happening. They're more intuitive so than any other person. That's a trait that you can help a woman to, that we are intuitive as it is, mm-hmm. but having someone that can tell us,
I like that.
Right? Mm-hmm. And it works beautifully because it kind of complements that in us, mm-hmm. right?
And I think one of the negatives too, because you mentioned two positives, mm-hmm. I'll mention a negative, is I know with some might see this as a negative is like, how do I emotionally open up, right? Like, yes. That's really important. I think that can lead us into tip number two, dating and autism, in regards to like a man that is listening autistic and thinks that, oh, I can't date women. Women are not going to find me attractive because I'm an autistic, which is not the truth, but is communication, right? So work on, I always say, like maybe 2 or 3 titles to a woman and say, listen, like, it's hard for me to open up emotionally. It's just not in my brainwave to do it, however you want to articulate it, but I'm going to try. But I just need you to do X, Y, Z, whatever it is. So I would need you to tell me to open up. And that's why Cynthia mentioned it's really good to know your positives and negatives, because when you know your positives and your negatives, then you can communicate this to a woman and say, I can't really open up emotionally like you want me to, but what will help me open up emotionally is if you say X, Y, Z, if you lead me, if you direct me, if you do this, and you basically coach them on how to deal with you. I think that's really, really important.
That is so beautifully said. Coach them on how to be with you. It is the most beautiful thing I could say to an autistic man. Love is there for every one of us, right? So the way we teach someone to love us the way we want to be loved, it's hard for a man with autism because they don't know how to communicate their emotions. Sometimes we don't know how to communicate mm-hmm. our emotions, but it's more challenging for them. So communication is key, and we keep repeating this over and over again in any relationship, but more so when you have a condition that holds you back from doing certain things because you're afraid of how the other person is going to take it, mm-hmm. right? So communicating this to a woman that isn't supposed to guess, oh, she knows I'm autistic, so I'm doing this because, right? Let's not assume things. Let's just communicate it. Listen, I know this was a delicate subject for you. Maybe I didn't address it the way you would have liked me to address it. I like to do a better job by connecting with you in the way you want me to connect with you. Why don't you help me grow with you and talk to you in a way that you like to be talked, because I like to learn from you. It's a beautiful way to get to a woman's heart and to get to really open up, because you guys know this and have mastered these honesty things. So,
yeah, which would be very attractive to women. I think that's a good attraction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trigger you have.
So opening up communication, I guess, is like the most important thing that we can recommend for you guys, because you have so many positive traits, but we focus so much in the negative that we beat ourselves down, right? I'm not going to be able to find it because I'm this way, right?
Yeah, and I think and the reason why people do that is because they, like, don't let autism define you. You define autism, right? Because, like, who says you're different just because, like, you operate from a different side of your brain or one part is more prominent than the other doesn't make you different. It just makes you a certain individual. Everybody, I'm different than you. You're different than me. So why are you different from me? Because why? It's because you diagnosed with something. Well, I'm diagnosed with being human. So then that makes me different too, you know? So it's just what we give more attention to too, is defining. And then another thing I want to get into, because we're going to talk about, I think the next thing we wanted to talk about is someone that is listening to this video, and please, this will also help with people that have autism as well, this tips, but someone who is dating someone with autism. I think it's really important for someone that is autistic, and this is going to be, I think, the best advice in this whole video, besides everything that Cynthia is bringing to the table, and I know you're going to agree with me because we talked about this, is one of the biggest things that an autistic person has to do, or someone in the spectrum, or someone with, a diagnosis of some point, right? They have to be really clear on what person they need to attract in their lives, right? So for example, I would never suggest, mark my words, but I would never suggest an autistic male, depending on where he is in the spectrum, but typically if he can't open up emotionally, and he's very intuitive in her surroundings, what I was saying, but he needs a woman that's going to be nurturing, that is going to pay attention to his habits, that's going to know, that's not going to easily get mad at him because she has expectations, right? You need a secure person, but also someone that is invested to understanding you. And when a woman is invested in understanding you, it changes the dynamic completely, right? I also have I had this autistic client, and one of the things I told him to do with his girlfriend, because she was like, I don't understand. He's like, I can't verbally communicate it. I told him, let's try writing it. Let's try writing things down. And so they have a box now in their house where if they get in like an argument or a tiff or something, or he wants to say something he didn't say last night because he wanted to connect with her on a deeper level because she opened up about her family or something, he would write it down and he would put it in that box. And she would then start putting stuff back in that box too.
That's a great advice.
Yeah, so I think that's another advice in regards to the women that are, or men that are listening, that are dating someone with autism. That's a great example of how you can start communicating with your partner too, and showing up for your partner, and let go of the expectations that, because they're not saying I love you, because they're not being affectionate with me. You're giving those value. It's really about how they're showing up. Right? That's the biggest thing with them.
And men with autism and have such a great heart. They're so aware of their surroundings that they feel more than sometimes we feel.
Yeah.
They just don't express it that way. And certain things they say might come at us like, oh, that guy was rude. But it really wasn't. He was telling you the truth that you didn't want to hear, you know, because we're afraid to say it. So just self-awareness is so important. Even if you want to date someone that you see all these positive traits, but he's autistic. Okay, so how do I go about it? Like you said, learning and invest in yourself and learning about this condition and how to kind of handle it, because it's something that you have to learn to live with, right? Like if you have problems communicating, beautiful example, because they're better at writing things than saying it verbally. So write it in an email, maybe write it in, like you said, in a piece of paper, and communicate whatever you want to communicate that will make you a little bit more in touch with the person you're with, so they can feel that sensitive side that you do have, just have trouble showing, right? So it is a beautiful thing to learn if you are like in this situation, like thinking about someone that you're attracted to, but you have doubts because they have this condition. They are beautiful, beautiful human beings. If you would understand and invest time into really getting to know what this is all about, you will fall in love like, wow, this brain is so fascinating. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, any other advice that you would like?
No, I think that, I think it's just about growing together and understanding the dynamics and understanding what you need from a man or woman, I should say. But just in general, for the men that are listening that we typically talk to, is understanding like, what do you need from this woman? What will make you happy in a relationship? And also like, what are your values that you want to uphold? And that's just with any man, not just like a man in the spectrum. I think that's important.
And also I wanted to add, because knowing what situations that put you in an uncomfortable, avoiding certain things that they're going to make you uncomfortable. Really, sometimes that's key. Let's say this woman that is taking you to a party with their boss and coworkers for the first time, right? Sometimes you have difficulty reading social cues, or you have...
That's why we're talking about the positive and negatives in the beginning of this video, is when you know your negatives, you can articulate this to the person, right? So like you go into dating women, be like, okay, we can date, but let me tell you something about me. I don't do parties. I don't do this, but we can definitely go rock climbing. We can definitely go hiking. We can definitely go to one-on-one dinners. I'll go to a party if it's 5 people or less. And she's going to be like, what? And you'd be like, listen, that's just me. Take it or leave it. And that right there is the confidence. And that's already a willingness that you already can do without flying colors, because you're very honest in general. So I think for a lot of men that watch this channel, they always think like, oh, I have autism, or I have this, or I have OCD, I have this. Like, no woman's gonna like me, and they come in from a point of like, I'm not enough. And just because you remember, like I said, you give it meaning, right? At the end of the day, you give it meaning. And I have plenty of people that I know that have been diagnosed with something and are so successful in their love life. So don't let that define you. You define it, and let your positive start working in your favor, and you continue to reiterate that. Excuse me. All right, guys. Well, I'm happy we were able to do this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, I encourage you to comment below, give this video a like, and if this is the first time visiting, subscribe. If you're interested in booking a coaching session with one of us, please go ahead and click the link below in the description box. As always, we'll see you again in the next video. Remember, you are always loved. Bye for now.